Around 2600 BC, the pharaoh Sneferu set out to build the perfect pyramid, tall, smooth, and pointing straight to the heavens. Halfway up, his engineers realized a horrifying truth. The whole thing was going to collapse. So they panicked and changed the angle, right in the middle of building it. The result is the bent pyramid, a giant lopsided monument to the day Egypt's greatest builder nearly failed. And it was not even his first flop. Sneferu's earlier pyramid at Nidim is believed to have partly collapsed, its smooth shell sliding off into a mountain of rubble that is still there today. There was so much rubble that for centuries afterward, people did not even realize it had ever been a pyramid at all. Sneferu had to build 3 enormous pyramids before he finally got one right. It was the ancient world's most expensive lesson in trial and error. This is the story the winners of history would rather forget. The greatest disasters, blunders, and epic fails of the ancient world. In a quarry in Aswan lies the biggest fail you can still walk up and touch. The unfinished obelisk would have been the largest ever carved, over 1,000 tons, until a huge crack split it right down the middle. The workers simply put down their tools and walked away. It still lies half-carved in the bedrock 3,000 years later, frozen on the exact day someone realized it was ruined. Then there was the Colossus of Rhodes, a bronze giant over 100 feet tall, one of the 7 wonders of the world. It stood for just 54 years before an earthquake snapped it at the knees. The Lighthouse of Alexandria, another of the 7 wonders, guided ships for 1,000 years until a string of earthquakes finally toppled it and dumped its giant stones into the sea. When the ruins of the Colossus were finally cleared, 800 years later, the bronze was sold off as scrap and hauled away, legend says, on the backs of 900 camels. But the ancients did not only fail at building, their rulers failed at sanity. When a storm smashed the Persian king Xerxes' bridge across the sea, he ordered his soldiers to whip the water 300 times as punishment. Then he had the engineers who built the failed bridge beheaded. You did not get a second chance working for Xerxes. And for all his rage, Xerxes' gigantic invasion of Greece was a total failure. His fleet was crushed at Salamis, and his dream of conquering the Greeks sank with it. The Roman Emperor Caligula once marched an entire army to the coast to invade Britain. Then, at the water's edge, he lost his nerve, and instead ordered his soldiers to collect seashells, declaring total victory over the sea god himself. In China, the first emperor, Qin Shi Huang, was so terrified of dying that he hunted for a potion of immortality. His doctors gave him pills to live forever, made of mercury. The cure for death slowly poisoned and killed him. He was buried in a colossal tomb, guarded by an army of terracotta soldiers, with ancient accounts describing rivers of liquid mercury flowing through it. Even now, the soil around his tomb tests strangely high in mercury. Even the Great Wall was a kind of fail. It was breached, walked around, and its guards were bribed. It never truly stopped the invaders it was built to keep out. The battlefields were where empires truly fell. At the height of its power, Athens sent a massive fleet to conquer the island of Sicily. The entire army was wiped out or enslaved. Athens never recovered. Athens had already been gutted by an invisible enemy. A mysterious plague swept the overcrowded city and killed as much as a third of its people, including its greatest leader, Pericles. When Hannibal invaded Italy, he brought war elephants over the frozen Alps. The brutal crossing killed most of the elephants and thousands of his men before he even reached the fighting. Yet he still crushed Rome. At the Battle of Cannae, his outnumbered army surrounded and slaughtered a Roman force of tens of thousands in a single afternoon, the bloodiest day in all of Roman history. And the irony? Hannibal won nearly every battle and still lost the entire war. Rome simply refused to quit, raise new armies, and ground him down until he died in exile, taking poison to avoid capture. Rome's own worst nightmare came in a German forest. But General Varus led 3 entire legions into an ambush, and every single one of them was destroyed. The Emperor Augustus was so broken by the news that he would bang his head against the walls, crying out, "Virus, give me back my legions!" Rome lost another whole legion in an even stranger way. The famous Ninth Legion, thousands of men, simply vanishes from the records, and to this day no one knows for certain what happened to it. Then came the fall of a legend. At the Battle of Actium, Antony and Cleopatra met Rome's navy at sea. In the middle of the fight, Cleopatra's fleet suddenly turned and fled. Antony abandoned his own men to chase after her, and they lost everything. Egypt fell to Rome, and within a year, both of them were dead by their own hands. Cleopatra, the last pharaoh of Egypt, chose death on her own terms, and a line of pharaohs that had ruled for 3,000 years ended with her. Even emperors could fail humiliatingly. The Emperor Valerian was captured alive by the Persians, and legend says their king used him as a human footstool to climb onto his horse. In Rome itself, the Great Fire burned for 6 days and destroyed much of the city. You have heard that the Emperor Nero fiddled while it burned. That part is a myth. The fiddle would not be invented for another 1,000 years. But Nero did something almost as shameless. He seized the burned-out land to build himself a colossal golden palace, and then blamed the entire fire on the Christians. The Romans may have even poisoned themselves by accident. They sweetened their wine by boiling it down in lead pots, and some historians blame that slow poison for the strange madness of their emperors. Some emperors were disasters all on their own. The teenage emperor Elagabalus was so chaotic that his own guards murdered him and dragged his body through the streets and into the sewers. Still, the ultimate fail was not one building or one battle. Around 1200 BC, almost every great civilization around the Mediterranean collapsed, all at once. Waves of mysterious raiders called the Sea Peoples swept in, cities burned, trade routes vanished, and entire writing systems were forgotten for centuries. We still argue about why. We lost the Library of Alexandria the same slow way, to fires and neglect over centuries, until the greatest collection of knowledge on earth was simply gone. We will never know what we lost. Some wonders may have been failures from the very start. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon were one of the 7 wonders, and yet no one has ever found a single trace of them. Some historians now think they may never have existed at all. And then, the unthinkable. In the year 410, for the first time in 800 years, the eternal city of Rome itself was overrun and sacked by invaders. People genuinely believed the world was ending. If Rome could fall, they thought, then anything could. So here is the real lesson of the ancient world. It was not built by perfect people who never made mistakes. It was built by geniuses who failed constantly, learned from it, and tried again. And it is a warning that no empire, no matter how mighty, is ever too big to fall. That was Chapter 3. Subscribe, and next time we open the tombs to explore the strange and creepy ways the ancient world dealt with death, I will see you there.